A little Partridge Family on a Tuesday night. Hope everyone's doing well and ready for another great study session. We had a ton of good feedback and success after last week's session, so I want to take at least the first 20 or 30 minutes and run it the same way that we ran the last one, which is I want to know what you guys are struggling with. I want some examples of problems or questions or definitions that are tripping you up as you work through your test prep. So if you could unmute, let me know what you're getting stuck on. Put something in the chat. Got the feedback that was more valuable than just working practice problems the whole time. So what do we got, team?
I don't know specifically the question, but the math questions are really tripping me up.
Okay. So there's a lot of different things that are going to fall in that math bucket. Like, is it the interest calculation points, assessment
So
value?
yeah, like the when you have the interest, and then when you're trying to solve for like one versus the other, as far as if you divide or multiply, I don't know. I have to get one of my books and then I can.
Yeah, if you wanna grab that, or if somebody
Okay.
else has an example that I can work through, or just anything a little bit more specific.
I'll pull off one off my PSI practice test.
Okay.
I have a problem that's been kind of tripping me up when I do my practice tests. So it's the closing cost questions. Is how much does the buyer need to bring closing costs?
Okay.
And they'll throw a bunch of percentages at you and a total amount, and then they'll throw a lot of figures at you, and sometimes they don't need them all.
Yep.
And I guess determining which ones we do need to determine closing costs.
Yep. So do you have an example? Or,
I was pulling up an example question.
Cool.
I didn't have one marked though, but I can find one.
Okay, go ahead. Hey, while you're looking for that, I saw that Leah, you put valuation and market analysis. Is there a specific example or like a concept or definition that you're getting tripped up on? Leah, I don't know if you heard me.
I'm sorry, I was
Oh, you're good.
mute. But no, it's just the whole concept in general. Like, I don't know, it's just hard for me to just get like the market analysis down. Like, I know it's not like a really big portion of the test, but it's just those questions just really, I don't know.
Okay,
It's hard
so
for
maybe
me.
that's something that we can hit some practice problems on through the CompuCram once we do some open source. Anyone else struggling with anything specifically?
I just want to do a couple of, or maybe one amortization question.
Okay, some amortization. We can do that.
Yeah.
That's all right. Sometimes it's funny. There are words. I did all my core. We do so much online, right? And if you don't hear somebody say it, there are words that I still mess up, which is good. All right. Front foot, a nightmare. All right, guys. So front foot questions are going to be, Bob is buying a property. It's 1,000 feet by 500 feet. And it costs $125 per front foot, right? Let's go with that example. Front foot is really straightforward. It is when you're getting the dimensions of a property, the first one will be listed. That is listed is the frontage, or what's facing the road. or that side. And then the second one is the depth. So it's 1,000 feet wide, 500 feet deep. When you get prices in front foot, you're only multiplying by that first number in the property dimensions. So think about it like this. If it's 1,000, if it's 1,000 by 500, and they're charging $125 per front foot, all we're doing is taking 1,000 times 125. It's 125,000, right? Super simple. The front foot is a perfect example of a question where you're going to get more information than you need, typically one number more than what you need, or you're going to get an example, you're going to get all this information about the property and the size and the shape and all these other things. And it's going to say, yeah, and it's $125 per front foot. And you don't need anything other than that first dimension, which is the frontage. You multiply that times the front foot, right? Sometimes that can be sometimes the simpler they are, the more they can mix you up, especially because those questions require less than what you need. So great question. Great question. Any more like that, Ian? I see you working hard to find a good question. Who had the question about amortization? Do you have an example?
Yeah, okay, so one of them is a borrower can afford to make monthly principal and interest of $1,000, and the lender will make a 30-year loan at 5.5% or a 20-year loan at 4.5%. What is the largest loan? Use the amortization table.
Okay. And and so there's a $1,000 monthly payment.
Yes.
That's the
Well,
only.
it says if a borrower can afford to make a principal and interest of $1,000. So
Do we know the value of the home?
this one didn't have one. That's why where I got
Is
stuck.
it asking for the most valuable home that they could purchase?
Is asking for what's the largest loan?
What's the largest loan amount? Okay, so this is an amortization problem in reverse. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw up a whiteboard here so that everybody can see. So give me those details one more time. It's $1,000 monthly payment, which
This is
is
monthly principal and interest of $1,000.
yep.
And then the lender is going to make a 30-year loan at 5.5%. or a 20-year loan at 4.5%.
And that's all the information that it gives. And the question is,
Yes. So like, what is the largest loan? That's what we're trying to find.
okay, so largest loan amount available. So we're going to take this information and we're going to say, and does it give you an amortization table to run off of?
No, I mean, I found a table. I had to go to another source to find a table. So I don't know if you have one, but I was able to find a table.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's an interesting
Another
question.
resource.
What's that?
I said through another resource that someone sent me a table.
And do you know the answer to the question?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Is it just off of a practice exam through?
Yeah.
Okay. So any question like this, you should be provided with an amortization table. And what you're looking at for these is, typically on a,
let me ask, do you have to use since they didn't give you it says monthly, so do you use the $1,000 and multiply by 12 months? And and get that other number that way? Like, I guess that would be what?
Yeah, it's 12,000.
12,000
12,000 in annual payments, you know.
annual payments.
Like if you were to tell me that like they wanted to purchase a home for $200,000, right? And you know, that's a $200,000 loan amount that they're taking out. What you would do on a, you know, typically you get a question that's like, hey, what portion of the monthly payment goes towards principal? Right? And so that would be, you know, you would take this number, 200,000, and you would multiply it by the interest rate. So that is
Okay.
going to be,
So can we do this? Let me give you another one, because that one, I thought it didn't give me enough information. I don't know why,
yeah,
but
I mean, that's a little interesting because if in a question like that, they'll give you an amortization table in the problem to compare 20 and 30-year loans. But go ahead and give me another one.
okay, so a home buyer is obtaining a fully amortized loan of 140,000. A savings and loan will give him 15 years at 5% or 30 years at 6%. And then it's asking, what's the difference in the monthly payments?
Okay.
So in the table, it has $1,000 per every, it's $1,000 per, what is it? I think you divide the amount by $1,000. I think that's how that goes, if I'm not mistaken. And you get, oh, that's how I did it, 140. I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. And then you take, let's see, 5% at 15 years. Okay, so that's where you look up in the chart, I think. Okay. Okay, so it says monthly payments per 1,000 of mortgage. So don't you take the 140,000 and divide it by 1,000 first? And then you're looking at 5%, 15 years in the table. So if I go down to 5% and 15 years, that's 7.90794%. 7.90794.
Okay.
And then let's see, and then 6%, 6% at 30 years. Okay, so I'm looking down the table at the rate for 6% and going across to 30 years. That's 5.99551%. Okay. So now I don't know what to do with all of that information.
Yeah. So for a, and again, do you have the answer just so I don't want to steer anyone in the wrong direction here.
The answer was $267. I think that was around it. I don't know. I mean, the options were 887, 267, 74, and 342.
What were the other two options?
342 and who's it? And 887.
Okay. And the question, just one more time.
Okay, the question said a home buyer is obtaining a fully amortized loan at 140,000. A savings and loan will give him 15 years at 5% or 30 years at 6%. And it's asking what is the difference in the monthly payments. So I know subtraction somewhere.
Yep. Okay, great. So that is this is gonna be a multi-step problem. And you guys are hitting me with the hard ones tonight. It's been a while since I've done one of these. And so let me just do a little calculus here on the side.
So do you take the percentages and multiply them by the payments or something like that, or I don't know?
Hold on a second. Just before I start working this, I want to be able to. Yeah, that feels right. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we have to compare monthly payments for these two loan amounts, right? So for the first one, we're gonna look at the 5%, 5% for 15 years. And we are going to, the amortization table gives us the percentage that we need to multiply the loan value by. So we're going to take 140,000 and multiply it by 0.0790794, right? Because that's just this percentage in decimal form. Does everyone follow that? When you see a percentage like this, you move the decimal place 2 to the left, and then that gives you the numeric value of the percentage. So if someone has a calculator handy, can you go ahead and punch that in, or I can do it on my end if that's easier. So 140,000 times 0.0799794 is $11,071.
And 11 cents.
Oops. All right, we'll just leave it rounded. So then that 11,000, now that's your annual payments, right? So this is an important step, is you're going to divide that by 12. And that should give you 922. Goodness. .59. Now let's do the same thing for the 6% for 30 years, which is going to be 140,000 times 0.0599551.
That's 8,393.71.
Okay. Now we're gonna, take that and divide that by 12 to get to monthly payment.
Okay, that's $699.47.
Okay. Now that should be, it looks like I've done something wrong here, team. Because this should, those 267 is the correct answer. Because the difference between those is 222 and 22 cents.
Yeah, that's the options they gave, the 342.74, 267, and 887.
Can you double check those amortization schedules?
Okay, let's see. 6%. 5%, 15 years. Yeah, 7.90794. And then 6%, 30 years. 5.99551. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. So let's see. So There's another way. I asked someone else, how did they arrive at it? So the way they did it, and I'm just trying to double check. They took the percentage from the chart. First, they divided the 140,000 by the 1,000 because the chart says monthly payment per 1,000 of mortgage. So that gives you the 140 payments. They took the 140,000 and the 140 payments, multiplied it by the percentage in the chart. And then they got the difference of those two. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
I just want to make sure I'm getting my math right.
Yeah. Has anybody else done these or run into these? I apologize. It's been a little bit of time since I've worked the amortization tables, and not having it in front of me is.
Because I've seen it on the test a few times, the national test, and I'm like, I kept getting stuck on that.
Yeah. Anybody else running into this or have have worked these? If not, I'll do a little research on the side here quickly, and we can come back to this for an answer.
Okay, sounds good.
Because,
The only question that I can think of like that is to figure out with a certain percentage and period of time, what would their principal, interest, and taxes be, or principal and payments be? But I'm not quite sure what this question's asking for.
yeah,
But
because it's asking for the difference in monthly payments, but you're building it off of an amortization schedule that's set at $1,000 monthly payment. Let me screenshot this and we'll come back to it, because I feel like I'm almost certain we're missing a step here with respect to those number of payments.
Okay, sounds good.
Could we do one where you have to calculate the amount of money that's going back, so like because of the proration, so like if so and so paid their taxes, and I don't know, I guess like it's like July 1st is when that new person moved, you know what I mean, like one of those questions. I know it's the guy that taught the classes taught us like with our knuckles, we're counting the months. So I kind of got that down. If I can memorize that, February kind of throws everything off, but
yeah, let me teach you a couple tricks on that.
Okay.
Right? So for anybody that's wondering, what Kayla's talking about is the questions where, hey, a property sold on July 1st and the taxes were paid through July 1st of 2010, right? So sale on July 1, 2010. Taxes are paid through the end of 2009. Taxes are $3,500 per year, right? So how much is the buyer due at closing for seller's share of taxes? Does that sound like a problem we've seen or had before? Head nods, thumbs up, cameras. Yeah, okay, good. So there are a couple things to know here. You got to pay close attention to when the taxes were paid through and when the closing date was, because if the sale happens, after a time period when the taxes are paid through, the seller has to cover their share, their portion of the taxes through the day of closing, right? So that means that January, February, March, April, May, June, and July 1, this seller has to credit to the buy side of the transaction for those sales taxes because they haven't been paid. or excuse me, for those property taxes because they haven't been paid, but the seller was occupying the property. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up, raise a hand, put a yes in the chat. Like, are we tracking there? Okay. So it's tedious, but we have to figure out two things, right? Figure out two things. One, what is the daily tax property tax amount? Two, how many days was the seller in the property? So in this situation, we'll take, and usually the question says use a 365-day calendar year, right? You're going to see that. So there's 365 days in the year. Taxes are $3,500. So all we do is take 3,500 and divide it by 365, right? So if calculator, take 360, sorry, I'm trying to get my calculator app up on my computer. Okay, not what I wanted. Okay, so 3,500 divided by 365 is $9.58, $9.59, right? Per day. That's pretty simple math. Total tax amount divided by number of days to get a daily tax amount. Be careful on these because sometimes they'll say taxes paid semi-annually or whatever, right? Or biannually, right? So you have to do a little finagling there. But when you have a 365-day year, it's, just take your scrap piece of paper and write out January has 31 days, February has 28, March has 31, April has 30, May has 31, June has 30, July has 31, August has 31, September has 30, October has 31, November has 30, and December has 31. So in our situation, right, we only care about these first 6 months of the year. So here's a trick. January, February, March, add up to 90, right? You're never going to get a question on the exam that falls on a leap year. So 31, 28, and 31 equal 90. And then 30, 31, and 30 equal 91. So the first half of the year has 181 days in it. And, I've been doing this long enough to know first half of the year has 181 days in it. The second half of the year has 184 days in it. And that's just that. But if you need to write this out, that way you can say 31, 28, 31, 30, 31, 30 equals 181. So that's from January 1st to June 30th. If this sale took place on July 1st, the seller also owes for July 1st. So that's 181 plus 1 is 182. So then I take 182 days occupying times 959 in taxes per day. And that gives me $1,745 and change, right? And so that would be your answer. 1745, right? Now, if this property closed on July 21st, oops. Well, then it's 181 days plus 21 days, which means it's 202 times 959. Nothing's ever going to change. The number, however long they're in the house, if they're there till April 1st, July 1st, September 22nd, you can count the number of days over here and just multiply it by the per day. Is that helpful, Kayla? I think sometimes we can, we start to use a knuckle trick or 30 days, half September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31 except for February, right? Like that old second grade rhyme. Just, you know, just roll out your calendar there. There's 365 days, 181 of them are in the first 6 months. Most of the questions you're going to get are going to give examples that fall in April, July, or October, right? Is that helpful? Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Excellent. Ian, did you find anything for what you were looking for initially?
I did.
Okay, lay that on us.
The exact question. So, whenever you're ready, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so a buyer deposited $15,500 on a $210,000 home. He has an 80% loan, receives a $1,500 proration credit, pays a $1,000 attorney fee, and pays 2 points.
Hey, slow down, Ian. I
Oh,
can't-
sorry.
It's 80% loan.
He receives a $1,500 proration credit.
Yep.
And pays a $1,000 attorney fee
Okay.
and pays 2 points on the mortgage. How much must the buyer bring to a closing? Or this
Okay.
closing,
So the home value is 210,000.
right?
Okay. So that $15,500 deposit, like that should be representing like earnest money. Hey, here's the 15,500.
So that's included with the closing cost.
Yeah, like that's already there for him in the positive, right? So let's do it. Let's see if I can draw a T-chart for you here, right? So, and we can just go right down the line, right? So these are, so we're going to say paid or credited. And this one over here is going to be owed. So put $15,500 down. Do you have the answer? Just so I know we can, everyone can trust me.
Is
Okay.
20,360.
20,360. How much?
29,360.
Okay. So home value's 210,000. It's an 80% loan to value, which means 20% of that needs to be put down, right? So 20% of the a 20% down payment on this loan is $42,000. So he's gonna have to, bring the $42,000 to close. Now he gets $1,500 back from a proration credit on taxes. He owes $1,000 or she owes $1,000, and then 2 points on the mortgage, right? He's gonna pay 2 points. His the mortgage value is $168,000. It's not 210 because he's putting down, right, 20%. So you only pay points on the loan value. The loan value is 168. A point is 1% of that. So 2% of that is $3,360. So now I just do addition and subtraction, right? And I'm gonna, oops, somebody trying to get in. I'm gonna go, I'm starting with 15, excuse me. Get this out of my screen, get that off my screen. So I'm gonna start with 15,500 minus 42,000 plus 1,500 minus 1,000 minus 3,360. Right, and let's do that on my calculator, and I'll share my calculator with you guys. Oh crap, I lost it. 15,500 minus 42,000 plus a $1,500 proration minus $1,000 in attorney's fees minus 3,360. You see that?
Yeah, I like the T chart. That's perfect. That made it 100% simpler.
Yeah, and just do that, right? Credits to the buyer, credits to the seller, credits to the buyer show up as on the left side. Credits to the seller show up on the right side, right?
So the 2 points come off of the loan value, correct? Not
The loan value. So you'll screw this problem up if you say, oh, it's $210,000 home, 2 points is $4,200.
Yeah.
And I promise you the answer that has the extra $840 of loan value there will be on there, and you'll choose it and you'll get it wrong.
It's the one I clicked. Yep.
What did I get to get the points? Multiple. What did I multiply to get to the points? So he said 2 points, right? So I just started with 1 point. So if the loan value is 168,000, I just multiplied that by 0.01. And that gives me 1,680. That's the value of 1 point. Now I know that I got 2 points, so I just take that, multiply it by 2 to get to 3,360. So the key here is just understanding who pays what's owed, and where I'm sure you can get screwed up on this is this $15,500 deposit. Like if you factor it in, or you try and calculate off that, or you say, oh, that's the down payment, right? Well, it's not. So that's a good question. And yeah, this is where, scrap paper comes in handy. Quick T chart. What have they paid? What do they owe? What's the difference? Is everyone tracking on that? I don't know if I moved through it too quickly, or I skipped any steps around this 80% loan to value, or what all that looks like. Would anyone like me to massage that a little bit more, or are we feeling good? Kayla, did you find a question?
Yes, I have another one. I have my PSI study guide pulled up. So another one is if I can move the screen over in 1 second. Okay, it says determine the estimated value of an income property using a capitalization rate of 13%. The gross income is $25,000 per year, and expenses average $900 per month.
All right, cap rate of 13%, gross income of
$25,000,
and monthly expenses of
$900 per month.
and monthly expenses $900 per month. And that gross income, there's no vacancy. They don't talk about vacancy.
Say that again.
No vacancy.
No.
Okay, cool. So this is that IRV method, right? Income
Right.
equals rate times value. That's the formula that we need to remember. Income equals rate times value. And this income number is going to be net income, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is net income equals rate times value. So net income is gross income less any vacancy or missed collections, less expenses. But it has to be on an annualized basis, right?
Right.
So we don't have any missed. We're fully occupied. We have no missed monthly, no missed collections. Cool.
Mhm.
So our gross income's 25 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got $900 in monthly expenses. We want to get to annual expenses.
So we're gonna multiply that times 12, right?
And what's 900 times?
10,800.
It's $10,800.
Mhm.
Okay. So now I can get my net income by taking 25,000, or let's do gross income minus annual expenses
Right.
equals net income, which is 25,000 minus 10,800
So
equals
14,200.
14,200.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now go back to the formula at the top.
Right.
Net income equals rate times value. So if I know my rate is 13%, I know my net income's 14,200. What do I need to do to get this to determine the value of the property?
Am I taking 14,200 times 0.13?
Not times.
So I'm
If I
dividing.
want to get, because I need to get value by itself over here. I want an equation that equals value. So if I divide by rate, I cancel out rate on the right side of the equation, and I add it to the denominator of the left side of the equation. So it's actually 14,000 divided by 0.13 equals value, right? So the difference here is net income equals rate times value. Net income divided by rate equals value. So our value should be
So 109, 230, and then 76 cents. And that was one of the answers on the PSI website.
now, let's say, hey, I like this property, but I want to buy it at a 15% cap rate.
Mm-hmm.
What would I do?
With the same information?
Same information, but they say, okay, 13% is not good enough. Give me 15% cap rate. What do I need to buy it at?
Am I doing the same thing, but instead of, it would just be the, 14,200 divided by 0.15?
That's right. You
Okay,
just change that.
okay.
You just change that, right?
So what would be a situation where now I'm wanting the interest rate?
Okay, let's say interest rate or capitalization rate.
Sorry, capitalization rate.
Yeah, so let's say the question reads that this property is everything else is the same, right? But you're going to offer $130,000 on it. What's the capitalization rate at purchasing this property at $130,000? So now this equation becomes net income divided by value equals rate. See, it's still the same. It's still the same equation. You're just moving the parts around. So now, if I'm still making 14,200 annually, and I'm going to pay 130,000 for it, just 14,200 divided by 130,000, which should be somewhere around 9.5%, maybe 9.3%. What's that?
So it'd be 0.109 if I divide, it's not 130,000 divided by the 14.2, it's 14.2 divided by the 130,000.
Yep, because you want to get a decimal.
Okay, okay,
Because look, to get rate by itself, which is what you're solving for, you divide both sides by value.
okay. Okay. I can go to another question if no one else has another question.
Let's look at that. What's 14,200 divided by 130?
Oh, sorry, I thought I said it. I did it on my calculator and took it off.
10.9%.
Yes.
Yep. Cool.
So I got the 0.109, but then I have to move it over 2 decimal spots, right?
Yep, to get
Okay.
to a percentage.
Okay.
Cool. Good stuff. Let's, does anyone else have anything, or do we want Kayla to ask another one? What do you guys want to do?
I have a non-math related question.
Yeah, sure. Lay it on me.
So I did get tripped up on my last practice test about with the the difference between, well, I guess, who governs the Division of Real Estate and the National Association of Realtors? Who picks the leaders of that, and how often does that get changed and all that?
So, oh God. You guys
Also,
are hard
is
to
there one
find.
called Commission of Real Estate, the Ohio Commission of Real Estate?
Yeah, Ohio Real Estate Commission, and then the Ohio Division of Real Estate. The Ohio Division of Real Estate is responsible for everything around licensure. The Ohio Real Estate Commission sets policy. The National Association of Realtors is just a professional association. They're not a governing body in any state. The National Association of Realtors is, their board is elected by members of the National Association of Realtors, which you all will be. It's required to participate in the multiple listing service here in Northeast Ohio. So, not a governing body. Also remember that they have a code of ethics. The Ohio Real Estate Commission has a canon of ethics. Canons can hurt you, codes can't. So your license is at risk when you violate the canon of ethics, not necessarily at risk when you violate the code of ethics. The Ohio Real Estate Commission is appointed by the governor. So there are 5 seats on the Ohio Real Estate Commission. It is, so that commission is 5 appointed individuals appointed by the governor. The Ohio Division of Real Estate is run by the superintendent of real estate. God, which I'm going to need a fact check on, but I believe is appointed by the director of the Department of Commerce.
I think that's right. I do remember that on a test.
Yeah. So superintendent runs the division. Commission is a board of 5 individuals. I believe they all have staggered 2-year terms, and there may be limitations on political affiliation, no more than 3 from affiliated with one political party, but I might be mixing that up. Anything related to your license, revocation, suspension, issuing, continuing education hours, all goes through the Ohio Division of Real Estate. Policy and practice related to real estate is governed by the Ohio Real Estate Commission. Helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. What else?
I have a question if no one else does.
Yeah, go for it.
So it says the net income on a parcel of income producing units was 32,000 for the past year. This represented an 8% return on the market value of the property. The property changed so as to cause the owners to want a 10% return on their investment. In view of this increased percentage rate of return, how much would the property be worth? Let me know if you want me to repeat it. That was kind of long.
Yeah, just hit me with the, give me one more time through.
So the net income on a parcel of income producing units was 32,000 for the past year. It represented 8% return on the market value. And then the property changed to cause the owners to want a 10% return on their investment. In view of this increased percentage rate of return, how much would the property be worth?
Net income equals rate times value. We have net income and rate. So net income divided by rate equals value, right?
Yes. So we have, say that again. They gave us the income, right?
Yep, income and rate. So do 32,000 divided by 0.08.
Okay, so, I think that was right. So 400,000.
And now the
they said they want a 10% return on the investment.
And they want, and does it say what's the new value or what's the new income?
It just says, in view of this increased percentage rate of return, how much would the property be worth? It just says, and before that, it just says they want a 10% return.
Yeah, so if they're, I mean, that's a poorly worded question.
Yeah,
So I mean, one thing you could say is like, look, if I know my net income is not going to change and it's 32,000 and I just want I want a 10% rate of return versus an 8%, then that's going to give me my new value, which, I'm going to have to value that property at $320,000. So, if I'm looking to buy it and I say, hey, I'm willing to buy this, but I'll buy it at a 10% rate of return, I can only buy it for $320,000.
okay, because it has 400,000 as an answer and 320,000.
Yeah, so if this property's net income of 32,000 at an 8% return, you'd buy it for 400,000. At a 10% return, you'd buy it at 320,000.
I see. So you really didn't even need the 8%.
No.
That was just in there to confuse me.
Yep.
Because really, what we did with the 8, we just needed to do that with the 10%, and the 8 was irrelevant because it only mattered as far as what the owners wanted.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Khadijah put one in the chat, and we'll make this one our last one for the evening. Copy this in. This is her question. The owner lists a home for 7% commission and wants to net 45,000 after paying off a $68,000 balance on their mortgage. What does the selling price have to be? So this is a two-parter. First, we know what the net amount is that they want. They want to walk away with 45,000. Then they need to pay off a $68,000 mortgage balance, and they have to pay the commission. Right? And then that's going to give us, that equals the selling price. Well, commission comes off the top. So we're going to start with 45,000 plus 68,000. And that equals 113,000. Everybody see that? That allows them to pay, that would be, if they weren't charging any commission, we'd be done here. 68,000 plus 45,000. Pay off my mortgage, walk away with 45 stacks. Cool. But there's a 7% commission. So to back into that price, that $113,000 represents 93% of what the sale price has to be, right? Because 93% left over to do this, plus the 7% to pay the realtor's commission. So now we're going to take 113,000 and divide it by 0.93.
Oh, same.
Right? And what's that give us?
$121,505.
Now that's the sales price we got to get get our 7%, pay off the $68,000 mortgage, and let them walk away with 45 grand. Khadijah, is that
Thank
helpful?
you. Yeah, because I got stuck at the 113,000.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, what's the 7% of that, or how, and it's just,
Yeah.
think
So you have
about
to-
that's going to be 93%. So just divide by the 93%.
I did
Okay.
you and did the multiplying the 7% instead of dividing the 93.
Yep. Because what you'll do is you'll take that 113,000, you'll multiply it by 7%, you'll add it back into 113, you'll be wrong.
Yep.
And so divide by that 93. And just think about it like, okay, pay the realtor, pay the mortgage, have 45 left over. And when you work it backwards, you know, like, oh, this amount needs to be 93% of the total.
I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
to get more law questions than appraisal.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will owe you guys an answer on some amortization stuff. Khadijah, if it's not such a problem, could you snap some photos and email it to me just so I can see? You know, I feel like anything where they're asking you to use amortization tables, they're going to provide those tables. You can't bring them in with you. Most of the questions are going to be related to somebody gets a loan at 5% interest, you know, over 30 years. How much interest are they paying in total, right? And you know, those are ones where you can calculate based on, you know, a monthly, you know, it's 5% a year for 30 years. You know, you can do that calculus, but we'll focus on some of those interest rate and amortization problems. But again, anything referencing amortization tables, you'll have a table provided, and then it's just to read the table. And so I apologize for any confusion caused on that one. But I don't know, it was something's not clicking for me. So apologize for that, but you know, look,
Okay, I can do that. I can do
yeah.
that.
Yeah. And here's the thing, if you get all the other questions right, it won't matter.
That's the one I keep seeing. I was like, I gotta get this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a screenshot of it as well. So we'll work through it next week. That takes us to the top of the hour, guys. Let me know if you find this to be more helpful bringing your problems, or if you want to go back to working CompuCram. I'm fine with either. You know, I do, you know, caution people. If you're, you know, you keep working the CompuCram, you'll start to remember the questions and not the concepts and the answers to questions. So sometimes flipping it to PSI or the CE Shop or Prep Agent give you some different looks, but then you can also bring those and we can work through them here.
I recommend PSI to people too, because it allows for you to do the test version. So like where it'll tell you the answer as soon as you finish it, and then it gives an explanation at the bottom. So like how he worked through the problem with us, it'll break it down that way. And then you can also take the time test so you can kind of get a feel for how long it's taking you, what questions are tripping you up. And at the end, it breaks down like what every answer that you got wrong. It shows like, okay, that falls under principles and practices. And then it also saves all your tests so that you can see how you're progressing. So, and it's only $50. So
Awesome. Awesome. All right, gang, that's going to do it